The point of natural language translation is to enable the modern reader to hear the text the same way the ancient reader heard the text. Perfectly legitimate form of translation, but in order to accomplish that goal, you have to be pretty free with the text. That's why the NLT is pretty free with the text. And as much as I like the NLT, and if you've been following me much, you know I do like it, there are places where it simply goes, I think, too far. And here's a couple of them. But let me stress again, I like the NLT. I read it as a running commentary of what some very smart people think the text means. That's great. But when it comes down to looking at the words and the historical meaning of the text, I think it's probably not the right translation to use. And here's a couple of examples. In the Lord's Prayer, we have, and don't lead us or bring us into temptation. But the NLT says, don't let us yield to temptation. Now, could it mean that? Well, out of respect for the NLT committee, I'd have to say, yes, it could mean that. I mean, it's a difficult passage. It's really hard to know exactly what Jesus is talking about, isn't it? And yet, nowhere in the semantic range of asphero do you find the idea of yielding. It's simply not in its semantic domain. And so I think this is one of those illustrations where the NLT has just gone too far. And the other example I came across is also in the Sermon on the Mount, and it's generally translated, and whoever compels you, mile 1, go with him 2. So whoever forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. That's what the words say, and that's what the words mean. But look at the NLT. It says, if a soldier demands that you carry his gear for a mile, carry it 2 miles. Well, certainly the Roman law that if a soldier wants you to make you carry his pack 1 mile, you have to do it, is the background of what Jesus says. But the problem is that by relaying the historical background, they've limited Jesus' injunction to a soldier forcing you to carry a pack. And that's not what Jesus is saying. He's saying that if somebody can force you to go a certain distance or do something, be willing to do more. That's what disciples of Jesus do. And so the NLT unnecessarily limits to a specific historical situation, and where Jesus' application, built on that historical situation, certainly encompasses more actions than what a soldier can do. So like I said, I like the NLT. I read it as a running commentary on what some really smart people think the text means. But because of the freedom they have to help the modern reader hear the text the way the ancient reader heard the text, it gives them a lot of flexibility, and you've got to be careful.